The Nexar observation vessel hung motionless against the backdrop of Saturn's rings, its crystalline hull refracting sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. High Commander Villara stood on the bridge, her iridescent scales shifting from deep azure to violet as she studied the holographic display of the Sol system. Her six-fingered hand traced the trajectory of yet another primitive human vessel launching from that unremarkable blue planet. Another one, she noted, mandibles clicking in mild irritation. The seventh this month. Their expansion rate exceeds all projected models. Her science officer, Kelax, manipulated the controls with his lower set of arms, while his upper pair compiled data on a floating screen. Indeed, High Commander. They've established 16 orbital habitats around their moon, and 3 mining operations on Mars in just the past solar revolution. Their technological progression is concerning. Villara's inner eyelids flickered, a gesture of contemplation among her kind. The Nexar Confederation had watched countless species rise from their cradles over the millions of years they'd ruled this sector of space. Some reached for the stars too quickly and destroyed themselves. Others developed so slowly they barely registered in the great catalog of civilizations. But these humans, they were different. "Show me their energy consumption curves again," she commanded. The holographic display shifted, revealing exponential growth patterns that seemed to defy natural law. Impossible. No species advances this rapidly without outside interference. "We've confirmed no contact with other spacefaring races," Kelax reported. "This is entirely their own development. They've gone from primitive combustion engines to rudimentary fusion drives in less than 200 years. "Dangerous," Villara murmured, "like children playing with plasma torches." She had seen this before. Young races drunk on their own progress, heedless of the devastation their unchecked advancement could bring to the carefully maintained order of the galaxy. The Nexar had not maintained peace among the stars for 3 million years by allowing such reckless expansion. "Prepare a transmission to the Confederation Council," she ordered. "Market Priority 1. The humans require immediate intervention." The message was sent through quantum channels, arriving instantaneously at the Nexar homeworld. The response came just as quickly. "Containment authorized. Proceed with standard quarantine protocols." Villara felt a surge of satisfaction. The humans would learn their place, as all young races did. The Nexar fleet would establish a quarantine zone around their solar system, restricting their expansion until they learned proper restraint. It was for their own good, really. The first warning shots were fired 3 days later. A human mining vessel, attempting to establish a new operation in the asteroid belt, found itself facing a Nexar cruiser. The crystalline ship fired a gravitational pulse that disabled the human vessel's engines, a standard show of force meant to demonstrate the futility of resistance. What happened next would change everything. Instead of the expected panic or calls for surrender, the human ship went dark. Completely dark. Every emission signature vanished as if the ship had ceased to exist. Before Villara could order a detailed scan, a new energy reading appeared, one that defied every known law of physics in the Nexar database. The human vessel's hull began to glow with an impossible light, and for the first time in her long career, High Commander Villara felt something she had never expected to experience when dealing with a primitive species: fear. Multiple energy signatures detected. Kelax's voice carried an edge of panic. They're everywhere. Emerging from behind every major asteroid in the sector, the humans had been waiting. Their seemingly crude mining operations had been a cover, concealing something far more sophisticated. As Villara watched in horror, dozens of human warships shed their disguises, their hulls pulsing with that same impossible energy. A transmission cut through all Nexar frequencies. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. You fired on an unarmed civilian vessel. Consider this our response to your attempt at containment." The human ships moved with impossible speed, their drives leaving trails of what looked like torn space behind them. The Nexar cruiser's crystalline hull began to resonate at frequencies that should have been impossible to achieve. Warning alarms screamed across Vilara's bridge as their sensors reported the impossible. The very atomic structure of their hull was being altered by whatever weapons the humans were employing. "Fall back," Vilara ordered, but it was too late. The humans had sprung their trap perfectly, using the Nexer's own arrogance against them. As her ship retreated at maximum speed, she sent one final message to the Confederation. "The humans are not what we thought. They are not children playing with fire. They are something else entirely." The response she received would haunt her for years to come. Additional fleets dispatched. The humans must be contained at any cost. The Nexer, in their ancient wisdom, were about to make the greatest mistake in their long history. They were about to learn that sometimes the youngest species are the most dangerous, not because they don't know the rules, but because they've learned to break them in ways the old powers never imagined possible. The war that followed would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what it meant to be an advanced civilization. But in that moment, as Vilara's ship fled back to Nexer space, all she could think about was how thoroughly they had underestimated humanity's capacity for innovation, and their willingness to use it. Deep within the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Dr. Elena Santos stood before the assembled leaders of Earth's Defense Council. The holographic displays behind her showed the aftermath of the Nexer's first attempt at containment and humanity's surprising counter-response. Project Prometheus was never meant to be a weapon, she explained, her voice echoing in the cavernous underground chamber. "We developed it as an energy harvesting system, a way to tap into the quantum fabric of space itself to power our expansion into the stars." General Marcus Chen, father of Admiral Sarah Chen, who had led the counterattack in the asteroid belt, leaned forward. "But it can be used as a weapon, can't it? What we saw out there." Elena nodded grimly. "The Prometheus devices don't just harvest energy. They can manipulate the fundamental forces that hold matter together. What the Nexer witnessed was just a fraction of its capability, a demonstration using our most basic prototypes." The assembled leaders murmured amongst themselves. On the massive screens, footage played showing Nexer ships retreating, their crystalline hulls vibrating at frequencies that caused them to partially phase out of normal spacetime. It was a terrifying display of power, one that humanity had hoped never to reveal. "The Nexer are returning," announced Admiral James Harper, his weathered face grave. "Our deep space arrays have detected multiple fleets converging on the Sol system. They're not coming to contain us this time. They're coming to eliminate what they see as an existential threat." Elena brought up new holographic displays, showing schematics of massive structures hidden throughout the solar system. "We've been preparing for this possibility since we first detected their observation posts near Saturn. Every mining operation, every orbital habitat, they all contain Prometheus generators. The Nexer think they're dealing with a primitive species that got lucky. They have no idea what we've actually achieved." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had known they weren't alone in the universe for decades, had watched and learned as the Nexer observed them. While the ancient race saw primitive savages playing with technology they didn't understand, humans had been quietly revolutionizing their understanding of the universe. "The Nexer database we acquired during the asteroid belt engagement confirms our suspicions," Elena continued. "They've grown stagnant, relying on the same technologies they've used for millions of years. They never considered that a younger race might approach physics from a completely different perspective." General Chen stood, his expression resolute. "How long until their fleets arrive?" 3 days, Admiral Harper replied. "They're moving faster than we've ever seen them move before. Whatever they're bringing, it's their best technology." Elena manipulated the holographic controls, revealing a new set of schematics. "Then it's time to show them our best. Project Prometheus was Phase 1. This is Phase 2, Operation Starfall." The images showed massive arrays of satellites positioned near the Sun, each equipped with technology that made the Prometheus devices look primitive by comparison. The Nexer thought they had seen the extent of human innovation. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "The arrays are quantum-linked," Elena explained. When activated, they'll create a network of artificial singularities throughout the solar system. We can use them defensively, creating impenetrable barriers by warping space itself. Or, General Chen prompted, or we can use them offensively. The same technology that lets us harvest energy from quantum space can be used to accelerate entropy in localized areas. We can potentially trigger stellar collapse in targeted systems. The room erupted in shocked discussions. The ability to destroy stars had been theoretical. Until now, humanity had crossed a line that even the ancient races had feared to approach. Admiral Harper raised his hand for silence. The Nexer gave us no choice. They came to our home and threatened our existence because they believed their age gave them the right to decide our fate. They thought their millions of years of history made them our superiors. He turned to Elena. Begin powering up the starfall arrays. When they arrive, we'll show them that innovation matters more than age. As the meeting adjourned, Elena remained behind, staring at the holographic displays. The Prometheus devices had been meant to free humanity from energy constraints, to power their expansion to the stars. Instead, they had become weapons of unimaginable power. But faced with extinction by an arrogant elder race, what choice did they have? In 3 days, the Nexer would arrive with their mighty fleets, expecting to find a primitive species cowering before their superior technology. Instead, they would find humanity waiting with powers they had never dreamed possible. The galaxy was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating the youngest of species. The void between Mars and Jupiter erupted with light as the largest Nexer fleet ever assembled tore through spacetime. 5,000 crystalline warships, each one a masterpiece of engineering refined over millions of years, emerged from quantum space. At their center, the Nexer flagship, Eternal Wisdom, dwarfed all others, its 100-kilometer length bristling with weapons that could shatter planets. Supreme Commander Xylith, the highest military authority in the Confederation, stood aboard the flagship's bridge. His ancient eyes, having witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, narrowed as they focused on the holographic display of the Sol system. Status of the human fleet, he demanded. Scattered, Supreme Commander, his tactical officer reported. Most of their vessels appear to be hiding among the asteroids as before. Their orbital habitats are powered down. They seem passive. Xylith's scales rippled with suspicion. The humans' unexpected show of force in the asteroid belt had prompted this massive response, yet now they appeared to be cowering. Something wasn't right. Launch probe spheres, he ordered. Full spectrum analysis of the entire system. Thousands of crystalline orbs deployed from the Nexer fleet, spreading out through space. They were the finest sensor platforms ever created, capable of detecting the slightest quantum fluctuation. As their data streamed in, Xylith's suspicion turned to confusion. Supreme Commander, his science officer called out, mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. The probes are detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system, but they don't make sense. The patterns defy all known physics. Before Xylith could respond, a transmission cut through all frequencies. The holographic display showed a human female in a military uniform, Admiral Sarah Chen. Nexer fleet, this is your final warning. Withdraw from the Sol system immediately. Your presence here is a direct threat to humanity, and we will respond accordingly. Xylith's inner eyelids flickered in amusement. Send our response. Show them what true power looks like. The Nexer fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their crystalline hulls beginning to resonate at frequencies that could tear apart conventional matter. They had used this same tactic to subdue hundreds of young races before. That's when the sun flickered. Just for a moment, a fraction of a second, but it was enough to freeze every Nexer commander in their tracks. Such a thing should have been impossible. Energy surge detected. The science officer's voice rose in panic. The humans, they're doing something to local spacetime. Around the sun, massive arrays of satellites that had been invisible to even the Nexer's advanced sensors suddenly revealed themselves. They pulsed with that same impossible energy the humans had displayed before, but now amplified 1,000-fold. By the first ones, Syleth whispered as the data flooded his displays. They've created artificial quantum singularities, an entire network of them. The human transmission returned. "This is Operation Starfall," Admiral Chen announced, her voice cold. "Your fleet is now trapped within a quantum web. Every point in space around you is connected to every other point through artificial micro-singularities. You cannot escape through quantum space. You cannot maneuver. You are, in essence, frozen in place." Syleth watched in horror as his mighty fleet tried to retreat, tried to engage their quantum drives, only to find space itself had become a solid barrier around them. 5,000 ships, the pride of the Confederation, hung helpless in space. "Listen carefully," Chen continued. "Those same singularities that trap you, they're also drawing power directly from our sun. Not the crude fusion energy your civilization has relied on for millions of years, but pure quantum energy from the fabric of space-time itself. We can channel that energy in ways your sensors are probably telling you are impossible." As if to demonstrate, one of the smaller Nexer ships suddenly shuddered and vanished, not destroyed, but erased from existence as space itself collapsed around it. 3 million years of history, Chen said, and you never imagined that a younger race might see the universe differently, might find paths to power that you never considered because you were too convinced of your own superiority. Syleth found his voice. You cannot do this. The consequences of manipulating space-time on this scale. We can, and we will. Chen cut him off. Unless you agree to our terms, the Nexer Confederation will acknowledge humanity's sovereignty. You will never again attempt to contain or control our expansion. You will share your technological database with us. Not that we need most of it, but it will help us verify your compliance. And if we refuse, then we'll demonstrate what happens when these singularities are used to accelerate stellar entropy. Your probes must be showing you that we can do it. We can make stars die. Supreme Commander, starting with your core worlds. The bridge of the eternal wisdom fell silent. In all their millions of years, the Nexer had never faced such a choice. Never faced a younger race that had not only matched but exceeded their capabilities. "You're monsters," Syleth whispered. "No," Chen replied. "We're survivors. You forced this confrontation. You threatened our existence because you couldn't accept that we might be your equals or even your superiors in some ways. Now you face the consequences of that arrogance." The quantum web pulsed around the Nexer fleet, a demonstration of power that defied their understanding of physics itself. The young race they had dismissed as primitives held the power to reshape space and kill stars. The age of Nexer supremacy was over. The galaxy would never be the same. In the aftermath of Operation Starfall, the great halls of the Nexer Confederation's High Council chamber fell silent for the first time in 3 million years. The crystalline spires of their capital world, usually pulsing with the combined thoughts and debates of 100 elder races, stood dark as news of humanity's victory spread through the galaxy. Supreme Commander Syleth stood before the assembled council, his once proud scales now a dull gray of defeat. The holographic displays behind him showed the human quantum web that had trapped his fleet, along with readings that most of the council members still refused to believe were possible. "They could have destroyed us all," he said, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "Their Starfall raid didn't just trap our ships. It proved they can control the fundamental forces of the universe in ways we never imagined possible." High Counselor Ven, oldest of the Nexer, leaned forward on his crystalline throne. How could a species barely out of their gravity well achieve such power? Dr. Elena Santos stepped forward, her presence in these halls unprecedented, a human standing as an equal before the High Council. The Nexer had demanded explanations, and humanity had sent their chief scientist as both ambassador and living reminder of their new reality. "Because you stopped looking," Elena said simply. 3 million years of history became a prison. You saw one path to mastering the universe, your path, and assumed it was the only way. Humans had to find different solutions because we didn't have millions of years to gradually advance our technology. She gestured, and new holographic displays appeared, showing the principles behind the Prometheus devices and the Starfall array. The council chambers erupted in murmurs as the elder races sought equations that challenged everything they thought they knew about physics. Where you saw limits, we saw possibilities, Alina continued. Where you accepted barriers, we looked for ways around them. Your civilization's greatest strength, its long history and accumulated knowledge, became its greatest weakness. You stopped innovating because you thought you had all the answers. And now, High Counselor Ven asked, his ancient voice trembling, you have the power to destroy stars themselves. Will you become the very thing you fought against? Will you rule through fear as you accused us of doing? Admiral Sarah Chen, who had led the defense of Earth, stepped forward to stand beside Elena. No, that was never our goal. Humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We want to explore it, to learn from it, even to learn from you, despite your attempt to destroy us. She activated another holographic display, showing the terms of the peace treaty humanity had proposed. We're offering partnership, not dominance. Yes, we require acknowledgement of our sovereignty and the right to expand. Yes, we demand access to your technological database, not because we need it, but because secrets and hidden knowledge led to this conflict in the first place. But we're also offering to share our discoveries, Alina added. The Prometheus technology, properly controlled, could end energy scarcity throughout the galaxy. The principles behind the quantum web could revolutionize travel and communication. We're willing to work with the Confederation to ensure these advances benefit everyone, not just humanity. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some members argued for accepting humanity's terms immediately, seeing the opportunity in collaboration. Others warned that giving primitives access to the Confederation's knowledge would lead to chaos. High Counselor Ven raised his hand for silence. You could force us to accept. Your Starfall array proves that. Why offer partnership at all? Because that's the difference between us, Admiral Chen replied. You saw young races as threats to be contained. We see potential allies. You wanted to control the galaxy's development. We want to be part of its evolution. Elena stepped forward again, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. The universe is too big, too full of mysteries, for any one species to claim supremacy. The Nexer spent millions of years building an empire based on age and accumulated knowledge. We're offering you the chance to build something better. A civilization based on shared discovery and innovation. The silence that followed was profound. The elder races of the Confederation faced a choice that would reshape the galaxy. Their age of comfortable superiority was over. Before them stood representatives of a young species that had mastered powers they barely understood, offering not submission to a new order, but partnership in creating one. The game has changed, Admiral Chen said into the silence. The question is, will you change with it, or will pride doom you to irrelevance in the new galaxy that's coming? High Counselor Ven looked out at his fellow council members, seeing the same realization in all their ancient eyes. The humans hadn't just defeated their military. They had shattered their entire worldview. The age of the elder races was ending, not with destruction as they had feared, but with an invitation to begin anew. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance as the council prepared to vote. The price of pride had been high, but perhaps the reward for humility would be even greater. 10 years after Operation Starfall, the Sol Nexer Research Institute spanned the orbit of Mercury. The massive structure, a collaboration between human and Confederation scientists, gleamed with the crystalline architecture of the elder races while pulsing with the quantum energy humanity had mastered. Dr. Elena Santos stood in the central observation dome, watching a controlled test of the latest Prometheus device. Beside her, her former adversary turned colleague, High Commander Villara, monitored the readings with all 4 of her eyes. Still hard to believe, Villara said, her scales shifting through shades of thoughtful blue. In just a decade, we've made more technological progress than in the previous million years. The test concluded successfully, creating a stable quantum singularity that could safely harvest energy from spacetime itself. Throughout the Institute, teams of humans worked alongside members of 100 elder races, each bringing their unique perspectives to unlock new mysteries of the universe. "That's the power of collaboration," Elena replied. "Your people had the advantage of millions of years of accumulated knowledge. We brought fresh perspectives and the willingness to question established theories. Together, we're finding answers neither of us could have discovered alone." Their conversation was interrupted by a priority message from Earth. Admiral Sarah Chen's hologram appeared before them, her expression serious but excited. "The council vote just concluded," she announced. The motion passed unanimously. Elena and Vilara exchanged glances. This vote would change everything. Again. "The Confederation is officially reorganizing," Sarah continued. "The old hierarchy based on species age is being replaced by the merit assembly. Any civilization, regardless of their age, can now hold positions of leadership based on their contributions to galactic society." It was the final dismantling of the old order. The Nexer Confederation, which had ruled space for 3 million years, based on the premise that age equals wisdom, was transforming into something entirely new. "There's more," Sarah added. "The first joint exploration fleet launches next month. Human quantum drive technology combined with Nexer crystalline architecture. We're going to reach parts of the galaxy we've never been able to explore before." Through the dome's transparent walls, they could see ships arriving from across the galaxy. Young races that had once been held back by Confederation restrictions now came to learn and contribute. Elder races that had initially resisted change now eagerly sought to participate in the new wave of discovery and innovation. "We received another contact from the Spiral Arm territories," Vilara noted, bringing up a new holographic display. 3 more young civilizations discovered in the past year alone. Under the old system, they would have faced containment and control. "And now?" Elena asked, though she already knew the answer. "Now they'll be welcomed, evaluated on their potential rather than their age. Already, one of them has shown remarkable insights into dimensional physics. They see space-time differently than either humans or Nexer. Imagine what we might learn from them." The observation dome filled with light as another quantum singularity test began. But this time, it wasn't a weapon or a show of force. It was a tool for understanding the universe, developed through cooperation between species that had once been enemies. 10 years ago, we thought we had to choose between dominance and submission, Elena mused. We never imagined there was a third option, genuine partnership. Vilara's scales rippled with agreement. The old Confederation sought to preserve stability by controlling change. We ended up stagnating instead. Your people taught us that true stability comes from embracing change, from combining the wisdom of age with the innovation of youth. Beyond the Institute, the solar system buzzed with activity. Ships of all species moved through space, their designs representing the best of both human and elder race technology. Research stations studied everything from quantum physics to xenobiology. The fear and suspicion that had once divided young and old species had been replaced by shared purpose. There will be challenges ahead, Sarah's hologram noted. Some elder races still resist change. Some young species still harbor resentment over past containment policies. But for the first time in millions of years, the galaxy is truly evolving. Elena smiled as she watched another successful test conclude. The quantum singularity collapsed safely, its energy harvested to power the Institute's systems. "That's the greatest lesson we all learned," she said. "The universe is too vast and too mysterious for any one species or civilization to claim supremacy. It's only by working together, by combining the unique perspectives and abilities of all species, that we can hope to understand it." The dome filled with the light of a new day as the sun emerged from behind Mercury. In the 10 years since humanity had demonstrated the power to destroy stars, They had instead chosen to build bridges between civilizations. The galaxy had learned that true strength lies not in age or technology alone, but in the wisdom to know when to lead, when to follow, and when to walk together into an uncertain but promising future. The age of division was over. The age of discovery had begun.